Meeting will come to order. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Welcome one and all. With such a turnout, you would think we were giving out free candy or something like that. I'm glad to see you all. This, as you may well know, is the annual owners meeting of Wildewood Springs Condominium Association. I am your president, Jim Munson. I hereby call the meeting to order. Under the agenda for today's meeting is the election of officers. Being that there was no, all the officers were in place, there was no other letters of intent submitted, there is no election for the board of directors at this particular point in time. The newly elected directors, which will be seated at the transitional meeting, is Roger Schultz, representing Pinehurst. He's right there at the camera. Say hello, Roger.
Hello.
And Mr. Paul Salas, representing Palm Tree. Paul? Can I have the roll call and determination of a quorum, Madam Secretary?
I'll skip the two new ones.
Yeah, do that.
You need a mic.
Dick O'Dowd?
No.
Well, this is a owner
This is
meeting.
an order meeting. I just need to determine a quorum. Catherine,
One moment, please, sir.
you don't have a moment. I'll give you 30 seconds. How's that?
Here we go.
We knew we were going to get it. We knew we were going to get it. People come in late. I need 280, Catherine, for a quorum. If I could impose on you folks, if you have a cell phone and you have it on, just please put it on vibrate or turn it off completely. Especially those of you that have this ringtone of the Queen entering the court. Da, 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 da. He's not paying any attention.
You know he's got his ignore you.
A Good Time Rock and Roll is another ringtone that's familiar with.
Willing Captain to come up with a number.
Sir.
We do have a quorum, so the meeting will go over.
Catherine,
Yes,
I
sir.
need in person and proxy.
I need,
Oh, in person and proxy?
right,
All right.
thank you.
Shouldn't be that big a deal.
You know, this is, it seems funny and strange, but this is the requirement that is set by the Florida statutes, 718, which covers condominium associations. So, full transparency, and we will abide by what the law says.
240 by proxy,
Thank you.
67 in person.
Thank you.
240 by proxy. 40. And 67 in person. So we do have a quorum. Thank you, Catherine. May I have proof of notice of the meeting?
Meeting notice was mailed according to statutory requirements more than 14 days before the date of the meeting.
Thank you, sir. We have the reading and disposal of any unapproved minutes from the last owners meeting.
You have the minutes in your packet. Should have. If not, they were distributed last year sometime.
At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes for approval.
So moved.
I have a motion made, duly seconded. Any question on the motion? Any question on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Now, next up on the agenda is my report to you. As we close one association year and embark into a new year, I am pleased to report to the owners of Wildewood Springs Condominium Association that this past year has been beyond successful. We have concluded the stacked pipe project, which replaced pipes throughout 159 units at a total cost of some $450,000. This has been done, keep in mind, without a special assessment and careful financial planning. We have also negotiated a new 7-year contract with our cable provider Spectrum and kept the cost down and decreased the cost out of pocket to you, the owners, yielding yourself some more money in your pocket at the end of the month. In addition, we were able to negotiate a door fee, or for lack of a better word, a sign-on bonus, to the tune of $111,000, of which we received a net profit of $83,000, which has been deposited into an interest-bearing account for future use. And as of this past Friday, we were able to renegotiate our property insurance from the budgeted figure of $320,000 down to $245,000. Again, a savings to you. A budget for 2019 and 2020 has been passed with $11 increase, and in later reports you will hear of our monetary surplus. As I report to you today, I can tell you that our audit from our CPA is complete with no discrepancies found. We are among the few associations statewide that have a fully funded reserve and a realistic and working operational budget. This cannot be accomplished without the people who work tirelessly to help ensure our success, from the effective board of directors to the committee chairs and their committee members, our cluster advisors, our management team, and last but not least, our employees. We owe them our gratitude and most of all, respect for all that they do to make Wildewood Springs the community that it is. You may ask yourselves, how can I help? Well, the answer is quite simple. Today there are committee sign-up sheets, and if you feel like you would like to lend a hand, feel free to give some of your time. We cannot do everything. We do need help, and you as owners can certainly make a difference. There's also a wish list that has been made available to you. Take it home. Think about where and what you as an owner would like to see or have done here on our property. I can assure you, and I give you my word, each and every one of them will be read, and your suggestion will be given consideration. After all, this is your home and your investment. I close my report with this. It has been a privilege and an honor to serve as your president this past year. It is my sincere hope that I have met or exceeded your expectations. I wish you all well and continued success, and I am grateful to all of you that has made a difference this past year. I'll see you down the road. Now, if I could have reports of officers, now I'm going to tell you something. Sue Downs is our vice president. And Sue just last week had knee replacement surgery. I spoke with her this morning before, and she's doing quite well. She had every intention to be here today, but she's gonna be calling in later on for the board meeting. But she would like to say to everybody that she enjoyed as well being the vice president and serving as my right-hand woman this past year. I wish her well. I know we all do wish her well. She's doing good. She's taking some medication, and later on, after she's off the medication, I told her I would stop off at the liquor store and get a bottle of Absolute. Then we could put it into an IV drip, and hopefully that'll make her feel better. If I can have the treasurer's report. John, you're up, bud.
Well, as Jim says, we have quite an extensive audit that was done on our finances, and we came through with flying colors. But yeah, the specific things I think as an owner I wanted to know is this. Basically, every year we get from you as owners and myself about $2.5 million. And of that $2.5 million, $500,000 goes into a reserve account, which we'll talk about here in a second. The other $2 million are used in the budget that we have online, and you can look at it at any time you want to. The important thing is last year with that $2.5 million or $2 million of operating income, we were able to withstand $745,000 worth of excess costs that we weren't planning in our budget, and that's the stack pipes, a roof issue that we had, swimming pools that needed some refurbishing, and we've got an issue with some stairs that go to the second floor units, etc. So, and paving, some resurfacing that we did. Bottom line is we came through last year with a budget that we're approximately 5% over, having withstood this large increase over a budget of expenses. We pulled some of that money, of course, from our reserve funds, because it was budgeted as something we would use from the reserve funds. Our reserve funds, as of December 31st, were at approximately $1.2 million with all the things that we had in place. And we have a regular running program going for major repair and replacements based on roofs, building restoration, pavement, stack pipes, swimming pools, tennis courts. All of these are listed, I believe, on the internet site, and you can get the exact figures on these things. But we have a rolling pool that we are planning for and budgeting for on a yearly basis. So, are there any questions out there? We're in good shape, by the way, great shape. We're solvent. We haven't spent all our money. We got money in the bank, and we got more checks than we have in the farm. The other way around. More money than checks.
Are there any questions for the treasurer at this time? This is your meeting, folks. This is the time to ask the questions if you have any. Hearing none, I'm going to call on next our IT committee chair, Chris Perry. Chris?
Thanks, Jim. The IT committee report for 2019. The Wildewood Springs IT committee met 10 times in face-to-face meetings this past year, in addition to a number of online discussions. A major project was the selection of a new web host and the building of a new website. The committee selected HOA sites for our new website platform and host. The new web host has unlimited space for documents and images and offers a considerable savings in hosting fees versus our old provider. The transfer of information from the old website and the process of building the new site took approximately 3 months. The new website went live on November 3rd, 2018. The domain name www.wildwoodsprings.com was transferred from the old host to our new provider. The committee has worked diligently to design a website that has an abundance of useful information and is easier to navigate than the old site. Slight modifications to the site are still in progress. Since January 1st, 2019, the website has had 1,463 users, with about 25% of those users returning users, or users of the group here. By far, the majority of the site is restricted to Wildewood Springs residents and is a secure website. There is a photo tour for public visitors, as well as maps, floor plans, and units for sale or rent. That's my report. I'm Chris Perry, the IT chair. The IT members are Lynn Corcoran, George Fisher, Joan Evans, Roger Schultz, Jane Spratt, Tom Brady, and John Moore. And I really appreciate the work that they've done this past year. We welcome any kind of feedback or comments about the new site, and we'd be happy to try to make some improvements. Thank you.
May I ask you also?
Copies of the report up here.
Chris, if I may, can I ask for your committee members, if they're present, to stand and be recognized?
Oh, sure.
Thanks. IT committee, would you please stand? All right, good job. Our next committee. Landscaping, Peter Farron. Give him a mic, please. Thank you.
Give him that one.
This past year has been a very good year for us. We accomplished a lot. As you know, we did all the fronts. Just before January, we finished all the fronts. And this year, we're working on the backs and sides. And so far, we have good response from the clusters as far as a wish list. And the 21st of March, we have our meeting. When we have the meeting, we're going to decide on the product we're going to buy and where it's going to be located, and that we have sufficient water in each area. And then we'll start planting the end of March and go forward. And our regular time is in the fall to get mulch. This year, the mulch is going to be put in the back and on the boulevard. Because we noticed when we went around surveying the back, that even though the shrubbery looked decent, it still lacked something, and what it was, it lacked that finishing look with the mulch. And it also prevent puddling at the back. And I just want to touch on something as far as trees go. I put it on the website, and it's on the TV, and it's going to be in the newsletter. When this committee originally started, when I was committee chairman, we set forth a rule that no tree in Wildewood Springs will be cut down unless that tree is a safety hazard or is sick and dying. We've had quite a few calls with leaf drop, pine needle drop, view obstructions, so I just wanted to make it clear that it's not going to happen, because that's our biggest asset in here, and I don't like cutting trees down. So that's about it. I just want to thank my committee members for tirelessly working, doing a lot of work on it, and also the crew I have. They're unbelievable. I mean, everybody knows that. I don't have to repeat that. Any of my crew here, stand up.
Landscaping committee members, please.
There's also a rule in Manatee County. A friend of mine lost a tree that owns a home here in the county, lost a tree in the big windstorm, and the county told her it was law, she had to replace it. No trees are allowed to be taken down in Manatee County.
Without replacing.
Okay, probably that was a live vote. And that's been a long-standing rule forever.
Okay.
If a live vote goes down for any reason at all, you have to replace it. Number 1, 2, 3. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter.
Okay.
Next committee, building committee. Hold on, Steve.
Building committee, wow. About a month ago, Jim decided to revitalize the building committee. And about 2.5 weeks ago, he came to me and asked me if I'd chair it. I willingly accept. So we've only had one meeting a couple weeks ago, and I have two people that came on board, two owners, that is. I do have two board members, John West and Roger Schultz. Roger's now coming onto the board. We're trying to get board members off of committees, except for, well, you're not even on the board, but you're chairman. I'd love somebody to take my place. But that's what those sign-up sheets are for. I assigned Pat Bix and Deb Harder to the committee, and we've already started jumping in on things. We're going to report to the board in the later meeting today that we have come up with some specs for new front entrance doors. Everybody, I think everybody's happy here. I'm not sure the board's even heard what we decided on, but we're going to let you pick your own front door if this passes. That's just our recommendation at this point. With some limitations. If you have full or half glass, you want it to be opaque, so you can't see through for security purposes. You don't want people just being able to look right into your condo. But the storm doors are going to remain the same. They have to be bronze or black. But the door itself will be painted our condo colors. But we'll paint it for you. You'll buy it, put it in, we'll paint it. It has to meet the county codes, and of course you still have to get permission, bring it to the association, and we'll approve it for you after the vote. I'm getting ahead of myself here, so we'll wait till after the next meeting. But I appreciate the two people who volunteered. We've got a sign-up sheet back there. I'd love to have at least 2 or 4 people more on the committee. So this is for you guys, huh? Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the responsibilities or opportunities of the building committee? What are they supposed to look into? What are their limits?
Give them a break. I haven't paid them off yet, so just give them a break.
No, just whatever people, want to change something.
Are you responsible for the roof maintenance, for instance?
You would say, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, we're working on some other things. These second floor entrance ways that we're having some bad issues with, and John's got a little modifications. For those of you who may not have been around last year, we do have plans for standalone pergolas that you can have put up, or you have done. But we have the plans, and if you decide you want one, you can pay for it and you can put it up. But we have the specifications and the plans to show you how. So, any questions?
Boy, you slipped by that one, didn't you? Next committee, let's hear from John Humphrey on the roads and infrastructure.
Well, we put the snow plows away.
Just push it up.
Yeah, one of the problems we have is in the center of Wildewood Springs Boulevard, down by pole 24 and 25. It's very narrow and there's a hidden curve there. We've had several people almost get hit by cars coming around the curve, and not too many of you people abide by the speed limit, but we got to do something about that. We should put in a sidewalk to the left of that curve so people have to stay on the sidewalk as they go around the turn. It's a very dangerous situation. I've had 3 or 4 people say they almost got hit there. So that's something we're going to have to look at. We're getting to see some more potholes and painting of the roadways. Some of it's getting pretty
where it's gonna be, need to be repainted, so we have to take care of that. But, other than that, it's a nice place to live, and I'm not going home for a while.
Thank you, John.
I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Some of those people, when they're out walking, especially at nighttime, you can't see them. And if they would carry a flashlight or lighter clothes, and maybe get off on the grass.
You're absolutely right, and I'm gonna get to that, address that under the security report, okay? Yes, hi, Ms. Atia.
People do not abide by that one-way entrance in and out. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we go around to exit out, and somebody comes in, because there are condos right here, takes a shortcut and comes right in, and you almost get in the head on. I mean, I don't know if we can make the arrows more obvious for people that are supposed to go around and park your car. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes,
I was talking like 5 years ago.
yes.
Some of them have to get repainted sometime soon, because the paint's not on it, so they're gonna have to be repainted.
Let's just keep it down, this is a small auditorium, and we got a lot of questions. Yes, ma'am. First of all, who are you?
Marcia Shepherd.
Hi, Ms. Shepherd.
590 Lakeside.
590
I go along with that comment because frequently it's the Wildwood Springs trucks that go the wrong way.
Our trucks or our golf carts?
Both.
Oh. John, I want you to address that.
If you're doing it, we'll certainly handle it. We have weekly meetings, monthly meetings, we'll address that. If our service vehicle is going the wrong way, or if our carts are going the wrong way, they shouldn't, because it's dangerous. Right.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for you?
Yes, here.
Yes, ma'am. Who are you?
Another point that people need to pay attention to is in the morning when the sun is low, not everybody's visor covers their eye when you're going through. And when I turn a corner and the sun is there, I literally stop because I can't see and I have to figure out that there's nobody there. So if you're out early in the morning and you're, although right now it's a time change, it's different, but if you're out early in the morning, be cognizant of that, stay off the road itself if you're walking your dogs. Because it's blinding. I don't know if anybody else has found this, but it's blinding when you're turning a corner and the sun hits you smack in the eyes.
You're absolutely right. One of the things that John Humphrey and I were discussing not too long ago was the signage that we have on the property. The speed limit sign, the stop sign. Folks, that is not a suggestion. It is a requirement, okay? The only one you're going to hurt is your neighbor or yourselves. Granted, if not all owners are to blame. Unfortunately, we're in a location and the roads are such that we're sharing with other associations. And people that are local to the Bradenton area know that if Cortez Road is backed up from 43rd to 34th Street, then they cut through our property and the adjoining property and use it as a bypass, so to speak. We can't stop that, okay? There are a few suggestions that are out coming up this upcoming year of lighted stop signs that flash, okay? Speed limit signs that flash, this is your speed that you're doing. They're available. Spike strips.
Spike strip.
And a dear friend of mine, Marty Coppin, wants to sit on a golf cart at one of the cross with a hairdryer like she's shooting a radar. But no, in all seriousness, this is your property. And we all need to maintain a level of safety and security for one another. We got to look out for one another. And I'm not saying it's everybody. Don't get me wrong, but there are a few. And there are a few owners that believe that the stop signs don't come on to them, you know, it doesn't go on to them. John, you want to add to that?
Yeah, last year or so, I thought we ought to put a walking trail down the main boulevard. Yes. Keep people. Yeah, they voted it down, you know, but I think that's something we ought to look into, a walking trail that goes around there so you don't have to head out the road.
Okay, in lieu of Marty's absence, today, I do know she's on her way back, rehabilitated, and coming back tomorrow. She'll be back on the property tomorrow. So Tom, do you have anything you want to add to the pool committee's report?
They're
I hate to put you on the spot.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
Yep, and that heater's been fixed. Spot 3, was it? That went down?
3 and 6.
3 and 6, they're ready to go, right?
6 had it internally that we're still working on underground.
Okay. Now, let me add on signage. We were talking about stop signs and speed limit signs. There are a bunch of signs at the pools. Okay? That you need to be familiar with. One suggestion was made that we take the signs that are inside the pool and move them outside. This way, you know exactly what you're up against when you're using your pools. Okay? And it's not basically everybody. There's a few people, okay, that refuse to go by what the rules are for pool usage. One that comes to mind is eating food in a pool. Another one comes to mind is removing the suntan oil from your body before you enter the pool. There is absolutely no smoking in the pool's areas. Okay? If we find somebody smoking in the pool, we will assume that you're on fire and use one of the water hoses. This is coming from a smoker, or soon-to-be ex-smoker. Soon-to-be? Yes. Okay, next committee, we do have some social issues on the property. So we have our social committee. Ms. Cynthia, would you like to say a few words?
Well, we have something coming up at 8.
You need a mic, ma'am?
Pardon me?
Can you just come up front so everybody can get it?
I like your haircut.
I did. Chopped it all off. Hello, I'm Cynthia Ingram, and I'm responsible now for the 2 big events that we have every year. The next one coming up is the second weekend in April, and it starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're going to have a chicken barbecue this time, along with hot dogs. And anyone that would like to contribute or help out, please feel free to sign up at the back here. Another thing that we're thinking about in the future is doing a courtyard tour. Sometime in January, instead of the garden tours that I know we have in New England, I thought maybe we could get 20 people in our area that would open up their courtyard. We could sell tickets for $5 and do courtyard tours to also help fund some of the events that I'd like to do for us in the future. That's it. Hope you join us. Thank you.
Are there any other standing committees that I might have forgotten before I get into security committee? Okay, the security committee report. Back in October of 2018, it was noticed that the security company that we had hired, Signal 88, was not meeting our expectations of what we wanted them to do on the property. After numerous phone calls, a reiteration of the guidelines that were set up by how we want the security office to act and to protect us, fell upon deaf ears. In November, I called the owner of the security company into the office and let them know that their performance was less than stellar and that you, the owners, were not getting what you were paying for. He assured me that it was going to have a complete turnaround, and it wasn't 2 nights later that I had called a security officer, a brand new one, on the phone, and let him know what he was supposed to do. So after guiding him through on the telephone, through the property for 45 minutes, which is it's a good patrol of the property, the next night he calls me back and he said he was told that all he's supposed to do from now on is drive onto the property and drive off. Needless to say, they were fired. And a new company has taken that place called Sarasota Security Patrol, who has since come onto the property and are professional in what they do. Now, granted, and I remain cautiously optimistic, because we've dealt with quite a few security companies in the past. Everything's going to be great in the beginning, and next thing you know, things start falling by the wayside and things are not done properly. That is not the case as of yet. Not for it, okay? So, what they were saying, and I believe the lady was bringing up before, about people walking out at night. Our security officers at the Sarasota Security Patrol ask respectfully to make our presence known while we're out and about in the darkness, when we're out walking our pets, when we're out doing our daily constitutional, to make yourselves visible. I know there's one walking, Miss Jane, I don't see Miss Jane here, but she walks around with one of those high visibility traffic vests that you see, highway vest. I know Walmart has high visibility belts. I've seen some owners walking their animals with a lighted leash or little lights on their collar, and that's great. Safety and security, first step is ourselves, okay? Again, we have to look out for ourselves and look out for each other. We do have on the property a couple of problem children, and they're being dealt with. As you might know, we had passed in our documents a couple of years ago about persons having a felony conviction or no, not required or cannot reside here, be an owner or rent here. Well, we got one that we're in the process of removing legally. We have another one that insists on parking their vehicle on the property unregistered and illegal by using false tags. Okay. Now, our document stipulates, and our security personnel now know what our documents are, that if you are a convicted felon, you're considered trespass on the property. And once you're trespassed, our security personnel know that we, as the officers and the board and the management, will prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. So they're not spinning their wheels, along with the Manatee County Sheriff's Department. They know this is a property that, number one, is a blue line property, because we respect and we love the law enforcement officers here. And secondly, if they're going to come onto the property for any circumstance regarding trespass, that they're not just doing it because somebody called to trespass somebody. We will prosecute. So these individuals that are being dealt with, I believe they are in receipt from our attorney on a vacate order. They must vacate the property. Or the owner, and it's in our documents, will be fined $100 per day while they're here, up to $1,000. And then there's other ways to get rid of somebody, but let's keep that in my back pocket. But your security patrol now is working feverishly to protect you and keep the property safe. Pools close at 11 o'clock at night. There's been some circumstances when someone's guest will be in the pool at 11 o'clock or a little past 11 when the officer gets there to lock the pools. And they'll say, with all due respect, can you please leave the pool? And graciously they would leave. The homeless situation. I believe it was you, Dick, that saw the security patrol? Up on 43rd Street by the wood line. 43rd Street by the, opposite the bank, where the Habitat for Humanity used to be. There used to be an encampment there. Okay? Our security officers had them leave. The next day, they left behind all their property, whatever they had. And according to the law in Manatee County, once you abandon property, you abandon property. So the next morning, Eddie and our guys, our crew, went up there with the tractor trailer, the farm tractor and the trailer that they haul behind it, and hauled everything out and placed it in the dumpster. So every night, that area is being patrolled. At the workshop, we were asked, are these security officers armed? And the answer to that is, yes, they are. Okay? We don't pay any more for them being armed like any other place that they, because we're not their only property that they protect. There's other properties they protect that require them to be armed. So they are armed when they come onto the property. Bless you. Is there any questions as far as security goes? John? Go ahead.
The only other comment I would make on that is I've talked with one of the security members, and he said a number of people walk on the boulevards the wrong way. That you should be walking on the boulevard facing traffic, not so the traffic's coming in behind you. So if you would do that, but also pass the word on to your friends, walk facing traffic so you can see the vehicles coming, that's the recommendation of security.
Are those the Canadians that are walking on the wrong side? Or the Sprats, where are they? Yes, John.
I have a little story to tell. My mother always told me, ride your bike Indian style, facing traffic all the while.
Someone had a question over here? Yes, ma'am.
I didn't hear them.
Terry Hoff for 7 Palms.
Hi, Terry.
The pool is in my backyard, which I love, but I continually see people that I don't know. There's a lot of people in there whose faces are very unfamiliar. I don't feel like I should go out and wear a pool tag. But last Sunday, there was 2 gentlemen or young adults there that I knew I had seen before in there that had been chased off. I called security and told them pool 4 and that there was 2 young adults there. I never heard anything back from them.
Is that the ones that they had in the report that they rousted out?
Yes.
Yeah, we get a daily report. I get a daily report from each security officer that comes on the property. Sometimes it's not the same one. There might be 2 or 3 different officers that come onto the property. But they do communicate back and forth to one another in situations like that, any situation. And every morning, about 9 o'clock, I get by email a security report from the officers themselves as what had transpired, and who they were, how they handled the situation. And in one case, people did produce pool tags, and in this case, they didn't. They rousted them out, told them, don't come back, you will be trespassed. The other thing that they look for is broken sprinklers, lights that are out, vehicles that might be unlocked. They walk the property, they get out, and they check and make sure that everything is secure. John, you have something?
Just if you have questions like that, if you email me, manager@wildwoodsprings.com, I can specifically answer anything you have like that, so please. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this makes any sense to anybody else, but I've been outside when those trucks, those vehicles have gone by security, and the lights are so blinding.
Good.
Yeah, it's good and not so good. It's okay. Isn't there any way that they can?
No.
You haven't even heard the question yet.
You want them to turn them down or use less?
Dim them and they see people, because it's like, I can't see you, I don't know which way you're going.
Well, those are called light bars, and they're set up for a specific brilliance, and they don't have any dimmer switches.
Yeah.
We don't run them after 11 o'clock.
After 11 o'clock, they're told that they've got
Out after 11 o'clock.
Neither am I.
I'm usually out after dark, but when I am, it's tough.
The whole philosophy behind it is, and I see your hand up, ma'am, I'll get to you in just a second. The whole philosophy behind it is to come onto the property with the lights ablazing. This will let anybody know potentially that wants to do us harm to know that there is a patrol going through. Okay? At 11 o'clock, they come back, when they're on the property, anytime after 11 o'clock or afterwards, the lights are off. The only thing you might see is the side spotlight when they're going through the shrubs and through the palmettos and the hidey holes, we call it. Yes, ma'am?
Do you have any statistics at all on break-ins in first floor condos, second floor condos?
None at all.
What does that mean?
Never heard of it.
Very safe.
None in the past 2 years.
None in the past 2 years. What we did have, should I give them the history?
No. We had 3 bicycles.
We had 3 bicycles stolen off the property. Okay, this year alone.
Yes.
That's one of them that were
Well,
found.
you're-
That's one of them. It is, so, we okay over there? Lock your bicycles up. We do supply bicycle racks at each dumpster area to lock your bikes up. Don't leave them in the carport unattended or unlocked with no chain on it. First of all, they don't belong in the carport. Or put them on your porch, or put them in your lanai if you're downstairs and you can do such a thing. Okay? Lock them up. Be proactive on your own property. There are bolt cutters that will cut through stainless steel.
One was cut.
And they're not looking for cheap bikes. They're looking for those high-value mountain bikes, is it? I don't know what they're. The high-value
That's been high-value bikes.
Well,
That they count.
what was the first group that was $800?
But the rest of them have not. And secondarily, the one that didn't get taken but moved had 2 flat tires, so they left it.
Okay, are there any other committees that I didn't get? Yes, there is. Cluster Advisors Committee. Elaine Johnson. Here you go, Elaine.
Hi, everybody. Is this on? No.
Yes, put it close to your mouth.
Oh, close it down. Hi, everybody. Are there any cluster advisors here? Closer? Okay. Any cluster advisors here? Would you please stand up? Sure.
Stand. All cluster advisors, please stand.
I'm standing.
Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Thank all of you for doing a great service around here. We need you. Okay. Thank you.
Now, on a personal note, that's the least amount of time EJ has spoken that I'm aware of. Any other committees? Standing committees? Unfinished business?
None, sir.
New business? Well, I got one item of new business to take care of right quick. Like can you hear me? Yeah. Follow me, Roger. Like I said before, there's 2 members that are coming off the board being replaced by new board members. So one of them that's coming off is Chris Perry. I want to thank you on behalf of the owners, the association, for your service to the association. Chris. Thank you. We will get a The other one, the other board member that's coming off is Monica Heigl. Yay! Dr. Shern.
Petition. Sit down.
Okay. I just want to make that clear that their efforts have not gone unnoticed and are greatly appreciated. Now, The next item is the vote upon the declaration of condominium, Article 10, paragraph 10.2 of the amendment. John, you want to explain that? Give me a break.
I think that probably everybody knows, but this is the vote the owners are taking to, I'm sorry. This is the vote to remove the requirement for buying flood insurance for the association. We've gone through the packets and the letters, but just in case. Number one, we were above 24 feet. Number two, we were in what they call the flood zone X, which means that mortgage holders cannot require you to buy it. And the fact that the cost of the flood insurance, which would only insure the structure of the building, would not insure anything that you have inside there, would be over $200,000. A year. Yeah. The association never had the requirement. It was inadvertently put into the documents when the new documents were passed back in 2011. The attorney had boilerplate language for insurance, and it appeared, and wasn't caught, and the owners at that time adopted the declaration. It's a rather laborious process to remove insurance stipulations because mortgage holders and usually banks have a certain amount of rights. So what happens, the first step is the vote here, and the vote is in favor, 304 to 4. Wait a minute.
That's right.
That's good. That's right.
Yeah, no, it can't be because it must be 303 because we got 307 people here.
What school did you go to?
So.
My math, sorry.
No. So it's 303 to 4. So we've done phase 1. Now phase 2 is a letter will be sent to all owners that have mortgages, and we have to have the name and address of your mortgage company because we have to request them to agree to allow us to drop this. We shall do so as soon as you help us out and get rid of the stipulation. But until we poll those mortgage holders and get a vast percentage of them to say, yes, will be allowed, then we can't remove it, and theoretically, we have to buy it or could be sued. So number one, the most important thing, first step has been done now. The owners have, but it doesn't take place necessarily until we get the approval of the mortgage holders.
So they need to bring their...
We will be sending a letter to everybody requesting. I think, what did we see last time, Catherine? How many mortgages?
A little bit less than half.
Okay, so it's quite a process yet.
250.
We're looking at about 250, 260 mortgages. And you would hope that many, because of the locality, they would be with the same institution. But we found out when a similar thing happened at Pine Bay Forest back when I had my management company, there happened to be 87 mortgages with 57 different institutions. So you wouldn't think that would be, but that's what it is. So that's the process, and step 1 is done, and that's what we're looking forward to. John.
And step 2 will be you're sending a letter to the...
Letters to the owners.
Or to the owners.
Letters to the owners.
Unless we can get it to you sooner.
I'll take it right now.
Oh, yeah.
No, not right now.
Maybe you won't, but I will.
Yes, ma'am.
Nancy Goodall in Palm Tree.
Yes,
My question is, what happens if, say, 85% of them agree, but there's some that do not agree?
The stipulation
The banks.
that was in the statutes said that it had to be 100% agreement by mortgage holders. But there's certain things that we can work around that, if you will. And our attorney's going to look, number one, look that up, and number two, we're going to send the letters out with a time limit to come back. And many of these institutions will ask their attorney, or they'll mess around with it And we are allowed to use the stipulation, if we don't hear in certain days, we'll agree with it.
They have 60
Yeah.
days to respond. Did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, Mike Appleby, Sherwood 246. John, have we been buying this insurance all this time?
No, we have not.
Okay, we just realized there was...
It was buried in there, and an individual came to buy a unit in here, and he said, show me the flood insurance. And I said, hey, we don't need it. And we looked at the documents, and there it was.
And so in this interim period, what are we going to do then until we get to 60 days?
Well, in the interim, we're working toward relieving the requirement. Okay. And that's the stipulation. And here again, the association is responsible for the structure of the building anyway. So we're basically what you want to say self-insured. You know, and the fact that we're not necessarily on a deep water or a shallow water bay where a wall of water could come in and knock the buildings off the pins or anything like that. The most we'll get here, because of our height and everything else, might be some runoff from water caught in a ditch or a drain that doesn't work, which would be negligible in the cost. That's why even buying the insurance with a $20,000 deductible, we'll probably never have a claim anyway.
So we,
Go ahead, ma'am.
so we've been paying for insurance?
No.
It's not? No.
We have not.
Oh, shucks, I thought we were gonna get a refund.
We do pay for the liability of the insurance. John, you want to bring him up to speed what Friday?
Well, Jim talked about it earlier about the insurance. As many as little or 7, 8 years ago, the insurance cost of the association because of the market was well over $450,000. And as I recall, and many of you who have been here a while realize that way back when, 8, 9 years ago, there was a special assessment to cover because the insurance rates went up so high. Well, we've had a couple of things work in our favor. Number one, there's been less storms. Number two, we've been very, very active in soliciting quotes from all around the state, and we've worked closely with the agent. And as I said, this year, last year we were about $296,000 for our insurance premium, and good business practices said probably 10% increase with what's going on, because there were a couple storms. So we set the insurance rate in the line item of $315,000, which we felt would cover it. And of course, we asked them to be as competitive as possible, and they actually came in, their first bid was $282,000, which was under our budget, and we were happy with it, and it was about $7,000 less than last year. But because of the size of our condominium and the value, we're $79 million on 40 buildings. There are not many insurance companies that would underwrite our potential losses. And so it's hard to get competitive quotes. I had 6 different insurance company brokers come in, and quite frankly, 5 of them either said, no, I can't touch it, or one of them gave it in writing. We cannot touch what you do, because they have to look at your coverage, and they know what the rates are, and they know what our rate was last year, and they couldn't touch it. But our agent didn't know that, and I told him to get his quote in because we had another one. And he said, well, let me see what I can do. And so then he came in at $258,000, which we signed up right away. And sent him a check. So we're positive they really felt that we had a market there. Where they found the extra $20,000, I don't know, but we don't care.
Plus the hurricane deductible went from 5% to 3%.
3%. Yeah. So we got a better value there too.
It's otherwise known as breaking it on, off twist. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question, circling back to flood insurance.
Yeah.
The association owns the buildings, correct?
Correct.
And we insure the buildings. Now, there's not a requirement for the association to have flood insurance on the buildings. That's what you're saying?
I'm saying right now there is a requirement in the document.
Okay, so as far as the mortgage companies that an individual may have, what insurable interest do they have in our structures?
They do not. They do not.
They
do not.
They mortgage the air.
Now, they mark, that's right, from the paint in is what you're...
Correct.
what
So,
you're
their concern should be zero then for them not signing off, it's okay.
Exactly.
Well, that's totally understandable, but in their opinion, they're losing a potential, I mean, if a building got knocked down and one, of course, the units would be gone too, right? So then they say that therefore, you should have had the insurance to replace it. I mean, it's catch-22. It's just too bad it's in there, but it's there.
You want to turn your mic off for a second?
Hey, Jim. A follow-up to that, when we, and John, you helped us with that. This is Butch, 529 Lakeside.
Yeah, Butch.
What they were saying when we held our mortgage on our place is that if we had a catastrophic wave or something come in, knock everything off its
Pennies or
yeah,
whatever.
pennies, that we could all decide not to build them all back. So you had to actually get me a letter from our insurance company stating that yes, mine would be built back. That's one of them, ensure them in writing of that. And I think that's where they might be coming in here.
Very good point, yeah, you're right.
All right, if there's no further questions, before we adjourn the owners meeting,
Well, there is one thing, under the auspices of the wish list,
yeah,
the crew is requesting a 3-day work week. Should I put that in the bin?
You can tell them, I said, people in hell want ice water too, you know? But, you heard me say and thank a lot of people and bestow accolades where they deserve. And I have just 1 second, sir, I see your hand, I'll get to you, we're just about to adjourn. And I've bestowed accolades on quite a few people. But, quite honesty, in all fairness, we as an association would not be in the position that we are in. I would have not have learned and gained all the knowledge that I have gained over the past 5 or so years, and continue to look out for your best interests without the assistance and the guidance and the knowledge and the mentoring of Mr. John Haggerty. Along with that, there is another individual that I am deathly afraid of. Although she's short in stature, she goes by that phrase that was used, walk softly but carry a big stick, and at times I'm afraid to call because I know my number comes up on the caller ID. But she's always there willing to help. She's willing to help any chairperson, any individual, any owner with any problem that they might have. And if she would stop running the mouth right now, I'd like to recognize our administrative assistant, Catherine Wood. Sir, I recognize you, sir.
Davis Flood, 25. In the declaration, the proposed amendment sent out to everybody, if you look at 10.2.9, it says any improvement or addition to the condominium property that benefits fewer than all the owners must be insured by the owners having the use thereof. And the one thing that some people have and others don't are carports. So what this says to me is that people who own the carports should insure them and not the people who don't own them.
Not necessarily true. That is under, that's under advisement at this point in time by the state legislatures, and I thank you. It's under advisement at this point by the state legislatures to change 718 to that particular issue.
Can somebody, I didn't hear.
He says that the owners that have carports should be responsible for their own insurance on the carports that they own, instead of everybody.
document says.
The document says that. However, it's under review and under advisement by the state legislatures to have that changed. Yes? Hey! Hi, Tammy.
Way down here, wait. Microphone.
Oh, sure.
Actually, as an example of what you're saying, sir, many years ago when we did have a hurricane, I'm a real old owner here, and many years ago, when we had a hurricane come through, one of my neighbors had a cloth car in the car park, and the ceiling fell down and shredded, going back and forth with the wind. The convertible top got shredded, and he went to the association and said, "What are you going to do about this?" And the association said, "You need to call your insurance company." And the insurance, his homeowner's insurance, had to pay for it, not the association. So the car parks are under many people's insurance, as an example.
All right. Turn it off, Tom. Is it off? All right. I'd like to thank you again for coming. I know we took up a bunch of time, but I believe it was a productive meeting. What? Hi.
I have a question about size of dogs.
What about it?
Yeah, what about them? It seems like they're getting larger.
The size of dogs seem to be getting larger. Dogs.
I'll address that if we can. In many,
Push the button.
I have. Yeah,
There you go.
okay. You are correct in some respects. Every dog that we've seen, that we know of, that is oversized, has been vetted throughout for either a therapy or an emotional support animal. There are at least 7 of them on the property right now, and that's what you may be seeing. We also got a phone call today that said that an owner is going to have one of their relatives come in, and they're going to have an oversized emotional support dog, and they forwarded the information, and it is truly vetted, and it's allowed. So if you know of one that we haven't checked, we'll check it. But yes, there are several on the property, but they have been vetted through our attorney, who review the stipulations that they get from either the psychologist or the psychiatrist or the doctor.
Any other questions? If not, the chair will yell out! There you go.
I keep on secret license now. I don't know whether this goes to the manager or to the grounds committee, but what's happening with the hole in the back of our property at Lakeside? It's getting larger, the sides are getting larger.
What is getting larger? I'm sorry.
The hole
We
behind
have cleared the other side of the lake.
Well, every time somebody cuts over there, we try to resolve the issue by going over there and talk to them. There have been 2 large holes cut, and they've kind of grown over. This last cut, I've written to the management company over there and asked them that they don't stay off our property because it's our property. That's about all we can do.
We can't put a fence there, we can't do anything. I know there's a space where the electric company has an easement.
Well, we can look into it. It's on the other side of the lake, and there's what is there. Our property is very small over there. It's about 7 or 8 feet, and then there's about a 20-foot FP&L easement, and they come in and cut, which makes it tough. And then the people back there all of a sudden see a lake with a fountain, and all of a sudden they want to see it, and so they cut, and that's where the problem comes. But the big issue, yeah, we could put some sort of fencing back in there, or maybe even temporary fencing with slats in it or something like that when they dig these holes, or when they make these holes. It's something we could look at.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Under under new business, number B, discuss establishing a fine. Did we talk about that yet?
Which,
That is the directors.
that's under the board of directors meeting, that's later on this afternoon. That's not on the owner's agenda,
We shouldn't get this.
okay? At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made, do I hear a second? Second. All in favor say yay. Yay. Everybody happy say yay. Yay.